we keep doing the same shit over and over again, even though everybody can agree that it's broken, everything sucks. Like,
Everything is broken.
what the hell are we doing?
I know. Why do we keep electing people who make these pillow talk promises and then never follow through, even though technically they can't do half the things they say they're going to do?
You know,
An individual may be powerless, but a group of people is not. That's the thing. When you have a
right.
force of numbers, like you can
Well,
affect change very, very easily and bloodlessly. If say like 90% of the populace of an area wants this one thing, they can just make it happen.
so okay, this might go down in history as a poignant quote, but if you look at it mathematically, you can't have power in numbers without one individual having power. However minuscule that power is, as soon as you start adding it up with other people and their minuscule power, you get more and more significant power.
And it's much more obvious. Violent conflict is generally stupid. Everybody loses. In war, there are no winners, there are only survivors. It used to be a long time ago that you'd have armies come together in the battlefield and they'd duke it out, and then whoever was still left standing was the winner, I guess. But now it's like whole entire countries are destroyed.
Yeah.
Like on both sides of a conflict, or any side of a conflict, but everything gets destroyed, people die senselessly, and then at the end of the day, you're left picking up the pieces and putting it all back together. But it used to be together, and your disagreement took that apart.
There's already a very fundamental thing in place for that. Like if you call the cops and say, "Hey, somebody's stalking me. I'd like a restraining order." Why can't they just say, "You have the Second Amendment, just buy a gun." Just fucking kill them and you're protected by law,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. You have an ex who's stalking you and threatening you, and the cops aren't doing anything and they're dismissing you. And so you're like, oh, I guess I'll buy a firearm to protect myself because I'm a single person living by myself. Go, and you fill out the paperwork. Well, now you got to wait for over a week to get it.
Yeah, that's a good
And
point.
like, that's problematic. I get the point. Like, I understand why. Oh, yeah, because somebody who's angry and thinking of doing harm to somebody, give them a cooling off period before they can get a gun if they don't already have one.
Yeah.
Sure, I get it. I understand
But
that.
if you already own a gun and you get angry, there's nobody stopping you.
In school, there was a kid who was a bully to a friend of mine, and I kicked his ass, and then we became friends. Before that, there was a lot of friction where we didn't really get along. All right, once we fight, then we're like, okay, well, okay, let's go have a beer.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what happened. So maybe conflict does have a benefit in that regard, but in the moment, I think it's highly destructive and probably unnecessary. Like we need to be teaching things, life skills, right?
Yeah.
Like auto shop, wood shop, home economics, like real home economics, like it used to be, ought to be taught. A firearms safety course. You should learn budgeting. You should learn about law, learn about politics, learn about economics, stuff that you will deal with in your adult life should be handed to kids.
How to do taxes. And
How to do taxes, yeah.
wait a minute. If you can't teach a class on how to do taxes because it changes every year and it's way too complicated, well, then that needs to change.
Yes, cue fair tax. Like, there you go. Go to that, make it simple. It's pretty obvious. You don't even have to do taxes at that point. Like, the only thing you're doing is maybe filling out some paperwork so that you can get a check. But if you don't fill that out, you don't get a check and nobody comes and arrests you. There you go. Simple.
One thing I think would be kind of like a core philosophy for something like we're talking about would be to have a law be a law. Like any bill you introduce should not stray from its fucking point. Like there shouldn't be no hidden stuff in a bill. What do you want the bill to do? Well, we have 762 pages. No. Give me one page.
No, I agree.
Tell me what the bill does. Right?
It's funny because it's like the Constitution and like the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights fits on one piece of paper.
Yeah.
And that's the foundation of the rights in the country. That's where everything stems from. The Constitution is a relatively small document. And yet that was good enough. Why can't we do that with everything? Simplicity works really well when you have just one thing. Also, it's important, I think, for people in the legislative side of things to pour through the old stuff and cull it. get rid of stuff that, like, okay, hire some people to analyze something and be like, does this actually do anything? And if they're like, not that we can see, okay, we'll get rid of it. And every step of the way, every action taken by any kind of governmental body ought to be for the people. It should cause a benefit, an improvement of some sort. You can't have legislation for legislation's sake. Maybe have a short-term patent, like a patent that only when you're making the thing and only for like 5 years do you have sole ownership of that design, and then it just goes to the public domain.
I don't know if I would put a blanket time window on it. It would make more sense to put kind of a benchmark of, okay, when you file your patent, bring your receipts and say, this is what I spent to get to this point. And once you reach that, the patent goes away. You can still make it and sell it, and you're still the one who came up with it. So you've got the brand recognition,
Yeah.
home field advantage.
Well, you could say
you're still going to make money off of it hand over fist.
If it were an investment, you could say like, all right, well, here's the cost, the R&D cost when you file for a patent. And then, yeah, once you make like 2 times that, then now it's public domain. So you've made a profit. There you go. I think that's a pretty intelligent way to do it, because that basically covers everything.
If the union never goes away, as long as you're not poking it with a stick over and over again, you wouldn't really even notice it, right?
Well, some unions though become very bureaucratic, and they end up going way beyond the bounds of their original intent. Mission creep, essentially. And that's kind of, I think, the concern for a lot of people. Whereas, like, okay, if it wasn't like that, if it was a temporary thing to correct an issue, then what
fucks everything up.
It does. It absolutely does. And of course,
it begins to exist just to propagate its own existence.
Yep. And in the case of unions, there's dues. So the union itself wants that money from the employees. So they're always going to come up with some kind of thing.
That's why I'm saying just get rid of the fees altogether. Like, everybody gets a union and nobody's getting charged for it because everybody is fucking part of it.
And honestly, maybe the benefit of this like crazy tariff thing will be to highlight to the rest of the world how stupid tariffs are. Like, I hope that that's the ultimate outcome, that everybody's like scratching their head like, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense. And then we just say, yeah, fuck it, let's get rid of tariffs altogether, or just make it real small.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made for like needing a global shakeup in order to, bring about a needed and overall very good change.